watching Cityscape on Cable 10. In this final segment, we'll tell you about events happening in our area. But first, old-time radio is alive and well in the Frederick area. Cityscape's John Piper tells us more.
We're here with Fred Berney, who collects old-time radio shows. Fred, thanks for letting us come down and see what you do down here. And first of all, when we first walked in, you said this is where it all began, with this one right here. And this is something that you had when you were a kid, right?
Right. Actually, when I was 13 years old, my parents bought me a tape recorder for my birthday, and this was it. It's what I had always wanted, and so they got this for me. And I always enjoyed listening to radio. I mean, I would stay away from sometimes family gathering things just to stay in the house or sometimes in the car to listen to one of my favorite shows. So once I had a tape recorder, I started recording a lot of my shows, not realizing that I wasn't the only one ever doing this. And I did this for probably from 1952 till the 60s.
And now you have amassed an enormous collection. How many old-time radio shows do you actually have, Fred?
It's in the thousands. I know I have 2,000 that are actually cataloged, and probably another 2,000 or 3,000 that are still sitting on reels waiting for me to go through and catalog.
Is there a piece or a show that this is my crown jewel, this is the best of my collection? Is there one you say, oh, I got this and nobody else has?
Well, actually, one of my favorite shows was a show called No School Today. It was on Saturday mornings with Big John and Sparky. And I started taping that from the early 50s. Taped it for maybe 4 or 5 years. I know I have over 150 shows. I don't think anybody else has it. And I'm probably the only one with these kind of copies. And I had a chance to meet John Arthur, who was Big John. And then we traded tapes back and forth, audio tapes, even when I was in college. So I was doing, this even up to college days.
Give us an idea of some of the ones that you do have. Obviously you have some maybe some old Jack Benny and
Jack Benny
Burns and Allen.
And Fred Allen, and of course in the mysteries I just acquired a lot of escape shows. I have suspense. I Love a Mystery. I Love a Mystery was one of my favorite shows. When I suddenly realized that other collectors had them, I started trading for those. So I have all the shows that exist right now. Just about any show, or Eddie Cantor's show. I mean, a lot of the mysteries are what I like. It's X-1. I love science fiction, so I've got X-1.
I was going to ask you what your favorite is, because obviously you have a very diverse collection, but your favorites are science fiction.
Science fiction, the Dimension X, X-1. And in fact, what I did, because I liked science fiction so much, I actually put together a collection of all these science fiction shows I could find on radio. And these go back to Buck Rogers. And,
wow.
And we've got, a whole bunch of, shows on here. So I put this together because I thought other people might enjoy hearing it and hearing excerpts of where the shows came from.
So you started out with a small collection. And how do you acquire new ones today? I mean, you're out there looking on the Internet. It's probably a great source to look for some...
It is, but I don't really trade a lot on the Internet. What I've done over the years, I would find other collectors. Like I say, when I first started collecting these, I thought I was the only one doing it. About 1970, I put an ad, I read in one of the magazines about a collector that had radio shows for sale. So I said, well, what the heck, I've got some shows. I had about 150 shows at that time, so I went ahead and put an ad in the same magazine. And I get an answer back from someone saying that he had a small collection of 1,000 shows and would I like to trade. Well, I figured, heck, if 1,000 was a small collection, my 150 was a pittance.
Right.
So we started trading, and then I found other collectors, and pretty soon I was collecting with 12 other people around the country. Actually, one guy lived in Mexico. I believe one was in Canada, so it was all over the world, out of the United States.
Right.
And then that collection built up from 150, like I say, to over 2,000 at that time. What we do is just, they'd send me their catalog, and I would select the programs that I wanted, and then I would send them my catalog, and they would go through that and select what they wanted, and then we'd just trade tapes back and forth.
So when you say all over the world, are there foreign radio shows from yesteryear?
The BBC. A lot of shows came out of the... in fact, over in England today, I'm told they're still doing a radio drama, where that stopped in this country in the late 60s, or mid-60s. Canada still has some, and of course England is still doing drama on radio.
Now, when we first came in, you showed us you just had an interesting new acquisition here.
Right.
And this was from an old show, La Rosa, Hollywood Theater of the Stars, starring Vincent Price. And I happened to point out to you Vincent Price, and it was aired on
October 31st.
Halloween of 1949.
Yeah, I had looked at the date, didn't really connect the October 31st and Vincent Price at that point.
But he's always connected to Halloween.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a good score for you.
Yeah, and what it was is that I saw this, actually I saw on the Internet, I heard that some of these transcriptions were still available, and I wanted to get a few. So I went on the Internet, found this, started bidding on it.
Right.
The bidding started at $25, and before I knew it, it was up to over $70. And I'm thinking, where's this going to stop? But he ended up not too far from there, and I got the winning bid.
Is there one that that is probably the most valuable in your collection?
The value really isn't. I don't put the value on the price on these shows. To me, they're priceless, because it's the idea of being able to listen to them again. I think it brings back memories. When I play a show that I hadn't heard since I was maybe 7 or 8 years old,
right.
Like I've suddenly found out there were Superman shows available. In fact, you can even listen to them on the internet. Suddenly listening to that show brought back the memories of me as a young child, just sitting in front of the radio and listening to the show. And that was more than anything. I mean, you can't buy that.
And that's what you want to share.
Yeah.
You were talking about that. What about now, what are you going? Is there one that you know, a collection that you are looking for, or one last piece to the puzzle? You're always looking.
I'm always looking now. It's a shame because there were, one of my other favorite shows was I Love a Mystery. I remember listening to that. It was probably on at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I was supposed to be in bed, so I would take the radio, put it beside my bed, put the covers up over myself and the radio so no parents didn't know I was listening, and I'd listen to this show. Well, there are about 5 or 6 episodes out there, but I would love to find more, and I'm told that's all there is. But if more were to turn up, again, it's just the idea of listening to something that you heard as a child.
Well, just like, you know, our conversation could go on and on, just as you can collect them, and we appreciate you taking some time with us. Fred Berney, I'm John Piper for Cityscape.
Thank you for watching Cityscape, Frederick County's lifestyle journal. A new edition of Cityscape will air on Thursday at 5:30. I'm Susan Thornton, and remember to enjoy and keep having fun.